Hello viewers, welcome to Ttwow 1A. Last time, these 15 Ttwowers had to respond to this prompt. How does a book prepare for a competition? And I have some great news. All of the 15 Ttwowers actually responded in less than 24 hours. That's cool. So that means that these 15 Ttwowers sent in 15 responses, which means that there's 15 responses to vote on. Before we get to, the voting thing, I have to, get through confessionals and tell you guys how the voting format works. So, only 4 out of the 15 Ttwowers, sent a confessional, which are these 4. So, I'll just go in the order that they're shown on screen. So, Demos first. Demo said, I'm going to be honest. I hope I am not out on the first round, and I would not mind being 14. I think they meant 14s or 15s, I don't know, but yeah, that was their confession. Next is ROR, and they said, Realm's the name, and being random's my game. Now it's time for Scavioli's confessional, and they said, I'm scared. I feel irrelevant around these bigger people. And last but not least is Deep Void, and they said, I feel confident in my skills and I think I might make it quite far, maybe possibly the top 10. So yeah, those are all the confessionals. By the way, Airbus Beluga Fan changed their name to Gian the Look, so that's what their username is gonna be unless something happens in the future. Now that we got confessionals out of the way, I'll show you guys how the voting format works for this mini Ttwow. So you see, in the Google form below, you're going to see 2 categories. Which responses do you like? And that will have 3 parts. And which responses do you dislike? And that will also have 3 parts. So this is how it's going to go. Since there's 15 responses, I was gonna have it so there's gonna be 10 responses that show a complete random. So the responses that you'll see will be shown in a random order, and that will be part 1. And then in part 2, it will show the other 5 responses made by the other 5 people that didn't have the response appear in part 1, and 5 responses that appeared in part 1. And then in part 3, it will show the other 5 that didn't appear in part 2 from part 1, and the same other 5 responses from part 2. So that means that each response appears twice in the likes and dislike category. So yeah, let me give an example. So let's say in one part you get a 34.65%, and in another part you get a 76.53%. Since these are for likes, they will be added together, which will be 111.08%. And then it will be divided by 2, and so that means that your total like percentage would be a 55.44%. And the same thing will go for the dislikes. Let's say if you have on one part you have 10.23%, and another part you have a 3.43%. Add those together, you get a 13.66%. Divide that by 2, and then that means that your overall dislikes percentage would be 6.83. So after that, your dislikes will be minus by your like percentage, and then whatever you get after that will be your overall percentage, which would be in this case 49.06. So that means that whoever gets the lowest overall percentage will be eliminated. Also, that means if more people dislike your response than like your response, then that means that you can get a negative percentage, so beware of that. Also, the maximum times you can vote is 3. If you're wondering why, I mostly just want to avoid shiny cowards, and I don't want to make it so Google form messes up and it won't be able to tally up the votes. So that means that the max amount of these categories thing that you can vote on is 18, since there's going to be 3 for likes and 3 for dislikes. And if you get to vote 3 times, that means that you'll be able to vote up to 18. So yeah. Remember, all these responses will be shown anonymously in the Google form. You won't be able to see who sends which response into Ttwow 1B. Yeah, so the link will be in the comments. And remember, you can vote was either you're a contestant or not. Everyone can vote. So yeah. The voting deadline is May 7th, 2026, 3:30 p.m. EST. Bye guys. See you guys into Ttwow 1B, where you guys get to see who submitted which response and see who gets eliminated first.